When news broke that Katie Price had quietly married a man she had known for barely more than a week, the reaction was swift, loud, and deeply divided. But among the many voices weighing in on the former glamour model's surprise fourth wedding, one stood out for its unmistakable mix of concern, bitterness, and hard-earned reflection. Her second husband, Alex Reid, who was married to Price from 2010 to 2012, did not mince his words. Speaking out shortly after the revelation that Price had tied the knot with Dubai-based businessman Lee Andrews just days after meeting him, the former MMA fighter described the decision as not just impulsive, but profoundly irresponsible, particularly where family and children were concerned. "It's irresponsible on your family and the children to marry someone you don't know," Reid said bluntly. For him, this was not idle gossip or tabloid outrage, it was the voice of someone who had lived through a similar whirlwind and emerged changed. Disillusioned, and deeply skeptical of the patterns repeating themselves. A pantomime and a business deal, Reid's criticism went beyond the speed of the relationship. Reflecting on his own marriage to Price, he offered a stark reassessment of what that union truly was. What once appeared as a passionate, headline-grabbing love story, he now describes as something far less romantic. A show. It was a pantomime, he said, a business deal. Perhaps most striking was his admission that, at the time, he did not fully realize what he was stepping into. Their wedding, famously televised in ITV's three-part documentary Katie Alex, for better or worse, was not merely a personal milestone but a commercial spectacle. Reportedly earning the couple a six-figure fee when it first aired in July 2010. Looking back, Reid suggested that the line between real life and performance had become dangerously blurred. Questioning reality itself as news of Price's latest marriage circulated, Reid questioned not only the wisdom of her decision but her grasp on reality. "It's almost like she doesn't live in the real world," he said, before raising practical concerns that, in his view, seemed to have been ignored entirely. Would Andrews move to the UK? Would Price relocate to Dubai? Had any of this been discussed in earnest? "I don't get her," Reid added candidly. "I was married to her and I don't get her. I don't think she knows herself." It was a cutting remark, but also one tinged with a strange intimacy, the frustration of someone who once believed he understood her. Wishing well, with an age now 50, Reid insists he bears no ill will toward Price's new husband. Only to later realize how little he truly did, yet even his goodwill carried a sharp edge. In fact, he claims to genuinely wish Lee Andrews well. "I genuinely wish the man good luck marrying her," Reid said, before adding pointedly, "I hope the marriage lasts longer than the court-ordered debts that she still owes me, and many others, that would demonstrate accountability and responsibility." Money, responsibility, and accountability. These themes recurred throughout Reid's reflections. He acknowledged that financial discipline had never been Price's strong suit, and even floated the possibility that Andrews could, perhaps, be a stabilizing force in her life. "Maybe he could be the best thing that ever happened to her," Reid said. "Maybe he could help her pay her debts and be more accountable with money." It was one of the few moments where optimism crept into his otherwise somber assessment. A family left in the dark while Price may have been basking in newlywed bliss, Reid suggested that the mood among her inner circle was far more subdued. Sources close to the 47-year-old star reportedly had no prior knowledge of either her engagement or her wedding. According to reports, Price and Andrews first connected through Instagram direct messages, only days before exchanging vows. The speed and secrecy of the relationship reportedly left her family distraught. "I can understand that," Reid said. Her family said they're distraught. "It must not be nice for the kids. the younger ones don't even know this guy. For Reid, the impact on Price's children appeared to be the most troubling aspect of the entire situation. In his view, adults could make reckless choices for themselves, but when children were involved, the stakes were far higher. Love, publicity, or something else? Turning his attention directly to Andrews, who reportedly claims to be a millionaire, Reid adopted a more cautious, measured tone. Good for him if he is, Reid said. He could be madly in love, or is he doing it for publicity? Who knows? Rather than outright condemnation, Reid expressed hope that Andrews' intentions were genuine, and that he might prove to be a positive influence in Price's life. I hope he's in it for love and that he's a great moral influence, Reid said. That would be nice. Although Reid maintained that he was in no position to offer advice, he added a telling observation. If he's real, he knows what he's doing. You don't build that level of wealth or business success without being astute. It was, perhaps, the closest Reid came to granting Andrews the benefit of the doubt. A familiar irony. The irony of Reid's position is not lost on him, or on the public. After all, he himself married Price in similarly dramatic fashion, flying to Las Vegas shortly after she split from her then-husband Peter Andre. Reid now claims he spent an astonishing £90,000 on Price's engagement and wedding rings, a figure that underscores just how deeply invested he once was. The difference is, I'd been with her for 7 months, Reid said. That's still nowhere near enough time to know someone. In hindsight, even those 7 months feel inadequate to him now. How the relationship changed him beyond the headlines and criticism. Reid offered a rare glimpse into how his marriage to Price affected him personally. I turned into a gopher. It was a striking admission, one that suggested a loss of identity, confidence, and self-direction. Before I met Katie, I was an alpha male, he said. For Reid, the relationship did not merely fail, it fundamentally altered who he was. Katie Price's latest wedding also came just days after reports emerged that she had split from long-term boyfriend J.J. Slater, 33, following around 3 years together. Maybe the romance was dead a long time ago, Reid said, before adding pointedly, but poor J.J. Then, almost as an aside, he acknowledged his own hypocrisy. I can't talk. I got with Katie after Peter. Responsibility, trust, and the meaning of vows for Reid, the heart of the issue is not romance, fame, or even money, but values. Responsibility and trust are the foundation of a successful marriage, he said, and to this point, she hasn't shown any of her husbands that she's capable of holding those values. Once madly in love with Price, Reid now believes their relationship lacked authenticity from the start. I now know what real love is, with my children and my current partner, he said. It's about absolute trust and having each other's backs. I never felt that with Katie. As a practicing Christian, Reid explained that marriage vows had once meant something sacred to him, a stark contrast to how he now views his relationship with Price. It was a show, he repeated, it was a pantomime. A story that refuses to end more than a decade after their televised wedding and highly publicized split. Alex Reid and Katie Price remain linked by a story that refuses to fade quietly into the past. Her shock wedding has reopened old wounds, reignited public debate, and raised uncomfortable questions about love, accountability, and the cost of living life in the spotlight. Whether Price's latest marriage will endure, or follow the familiar arc of intensity, spectacle, and collapse, remains to be seen. But for Reid, the lesson is already clear, etched deeply by experience rather than hindsight.